Well, we've got a very brave man in studio here, and he is going to lay the picture out for us, Mr. Bishop. He's Rhondall Fields, the president of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. You may have heard about them.
Yes, I have.
The primary purpose of this advocacy group is to raise national awareness in an attempt to put an end to the injustice to children who have been forcibly separated from their fathers. And we believe that if the court systems were more on a level playing field and women stood just as great a chance as men of losing custody of their kids, both parties would put aside their past personal issues and focus on the child's happiness. But we're taking it out of simply single fathers. Well, not totally out, but today we want to focus on an issue that Mr. Fields brought to attention on the Single Fathers Association Facebook page. And that's a case of where he's making a call and he's going to be lobbying to amend sections of the Sexual Offences Act where he thinks boys are clearly at a disadvantage. All right, and it is arising out of the rampant, alarming sexuality among teenagers and preteens in our school system. Boys are clearly at a disadvantage in light of this, and Mr. Bishop, he's here to discuss this topic with us.
Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's good to have you here this morning. We're just going to deal with this first because the whole question of sex in school is an issue. It is an issue and a proper issue that anyone found under the age having sex, the perpetrator of the crime against them, because it is a crime, should be taken before the court. In the case of a minor, where minors having sex with minors, this is where we say, okay, let's examine this closely. Now, my understanding is, and correct me if I go awry, is that if a young lady has underage child has sex with an adult, then of course it's criminal. If a underage girl has sex with a underage boy, what is that?
Well, that's a criminal offense as well.
It's a criminal offense.
To the sexual offenses.
Good enough. And I just wanted to be sure of that. It is a criminal offense, understandably so. If an elder yet underage girl has sex with a younger underage boy,
he's the one that will be charged according to the sexual offenses.
That's messed up.
Very, very.
Explain.
And I know a lot of the defenses, a lot of people will come with that. There's the Child Protection 2012 act that they want to table and pass, and I will defend it. But I mean, we have to look at the law as it currently stands. And right now, the way that it does stand, the offenses, they don't class it as rape. They class it as having sex with. So it's actually Chapter 1128 of the Sexual Offences Act, Section 6. It deals with any male, and that's where the main problem is. Section 6 and Section 7 deals with the male perpetrator. And what they say is any male that has sex. Section 6 says any male that has sex with a female under the age of 14. In other words, he commits an offense. And he commits an offense and is liable to life imprisonment. That is what it is. And yeah, people will say, well, a judge wouldn't send him to jail for that. But the thing is, he should never even be charged, or he should never even have to face the discretion of the judge at life imprisonment. And then Section 7 says that if the young lady is between 14 and 16, right, if she's reached 14 and between 14 and 16, he faces an imprisonment of 12 years, first offender, 15 years, second offender, right? That one has a sort of defense or protective clause that says if he believes that she was more than 14, or if he believes that she was or if he's 3 years older than her, then he has a defense, right? But as I say, it's still to the discretion of the judge. Then Section 8, first I thought when I read the two sections, I said, well, possibly they just had a wide definition of male, and possibly that is where the problem is, and that is why these boys in error were being charged. But then when we get to Section 8, I see any female adult. So then I realized there's a discretion here with Section 8, where clearly they're protecting a girl from being arrested for having sex with a minor boy. So I said, I don't understand, why would you put any female adult there? Why would Parliament draft this way and not put any male adult for the minor boy in 6 and 7? And then I even looked at the punishment, the liability of the female adult, which was 5 years imprisonment. So what you're really saying is a 13-year-old boy, because any male means that any male that could have sexual intercourse. So any male that can have sexual intercourse with any female under the age of 14. Let's say they're both 13, or the girl is 14 and he's 13. The liability is life imprisonment. And then we are saying that any adult female, which means definitely should be over 18, that has sex with a minor boy under 16,
that's a sentence.
her sentence is going to be 5. Her liability is 5 years imprisonment. So, to me, I really wonder if that was the truest intention of Parliament, because definitely this is a no way protecting young boys. I mean, this is consensual sex we're talking about here. This is not rape. At the end of the day, I believe they are both equally responsible. They both participated in the act. They both should be dealt with accordingly. And even so, I don't even know if the court is the right place to deal with it. Possibly some kind of counseling. I mean, community service. I mean, of course, we don't want to encourage minors having sex, and they must find somewhere.
These are children experimenting, and we have to deal with it.
Exactly, we have to discipline them. But I mean, dragging them to court, and I mean, dragging the boy to court, because these boys, I would pretty much think, no matter what we call it, having sex or whatever, they're considered as rapists. And they might consider themselves as rapists, no matter how we try to butter it up and make it sound nicely. Because when I highlighted the issue, a mother contacted me with her son who's in the same scenario. He's 15, she's 14. She said his defense is really that the girl was the aggressor. She was younger, but more sexually active than him. And he is the one that he went and he had sex with her, but he got charged.
But that's the part. Have you sought any legal opinion on this as to whether this is? I mean, because it baffles me that a 13-year-old can go and have sex arguably with an 8-year-old, and the 8-year-old is the one who is charged.
Right. Once it gets performed, is they having any male there is what's causing that. Of course, as I said, they will litigate. The lawyers will litigate and put things forward to the judge, and then the judge at the end will have discretion.
But the language here.
Yeah, it shouldn't be there. What I'm saying, it should have never been made in that way.
Indeed.
And I mean, the main fact that you could differentiate between any male and any female adult, it means you definitely knew that you had to differentiate from the male as well. And that's what's troubling to me. It's very troubling to me. I mean, every mother or father that has a son out there who was at the age that they could perform sexual intercourse should be afraid and should stand up against it. And as I say, you would hear one or two people mention the 2012 Child Protection Act that's supposed to be passed. This is 2015. 3 years, nothing can pass yet. I mean, these boys were charged last week. So it means this week boys could be charged again. This is something that needs to be dealt with immediately. I mean, this is deplorable.
I just wanted to add the circumstances of one of the cases that he's referring to, where police received a report that a teenager, and she is 13 years old, and a 13-year-old Form 1 student of the Pleasantville Secondary School left KFC in San Fernando and went to a friend's home where they both engaged in sexual intercourse. Family members of the girl received information and contacted the police, who went to the location where both students were held. But guess who was charged?
The boy.
The boy was charged.
Because under the act, only the boy can be charged.
All right.
So that's it. So that's exactly what I'm saying. She could have been 15. He could have been 12. Under the act says any male. And so any male, no matter his age, he will be charged. He will be the one that will be held responsible under the way the act is written there.
Criminalizing youth, putting them through the system, and the law clearly, I want to believe that was not the intent. But then I follow your thinking. Clearly, they differentiated in Section 8. They understand that there is a different bar here, but it did not apply to the young boys. It only applied to the girls.
Right.
The instance of a lot of young, and it doesn't justify anything. We said they are children. But the instance, I know, Charmin, you hold firmly that a lot of the young girls, children, are the aggressors in cases like that. That was a surprise to me.
Yes, they are indeed the aggressors. And there are instances as well, and I've been drawing this reference all week, of a young girl, a teenage girl, possibly sexually active, involved with an older man.
Right.
And by chance in school involved with a younger boy.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, the parents would find out she's sexually active. They would look to the one in school, and that would be the easiest scapegoat for the parent as well. Look at boys and girls playing at the preschool level. You can see the girls are the more aggressive. You understand? It does not necessarily mean aggressive in a negative way, but they are more aggressive than the boys. You know, and it is not a good thing as well. Should the age of sexual consent be changed?
Well, I know to give consent, they look at 16, possibly. I don't know if that will even affect anything. I think what we really need to do as parents is really educate the children. That's really about education. I mean, because there's a lot of social perception out there. And I mean, back in I mean, back in the day, it was different. I mean, pornography is easily accessible to them.
And it is
lot.
created by teenagers as well.
And I don't think we really. I think things still back in the old days. I mean, at least towards the school and stuff. I think this is really the time.
The genie is out of the bottle, and we have not kept up with the genie.
With the time.
The voice you're hearing is Rhondall Feelies. Is that Feelies?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Fields.
Fields. All right. I got the E and the S, so it's a feel. Okay. Rhondall Fields, who's the president of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. You made a point there that I want to go back to, because on the one hand, there are children experimenting. We have dealt with the area of the dual legislation, the double standard legislation. But you mentioned the area of criminality, and you said that most of the times, if they are underage, it should not even go to court. I am in agreement with that. Your suggestion, please.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, social service. I mean, counseling is the main thing, because it means possibly. It means to me definitely that these children don't need to be counseled. I mean, family planning and these things, make them aware of it, because sometimes it's just the act they look at, or just they did the act, they possibly see it somewhere, heard about it, and it was enjoyable, so they continue to do it. But I mean, there are consequences. There are guys like us who could go in as well and speak to a young boy about the pressures of being a single father.
And while you continue on that, let me just invite some of our callers to join us on this. All right, our telephone number here at Brunch is 628-2250, 628-2250 and 628-9107. Our guest is the president of the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Rhondall Fields, and we are talking about sex in school. We're talking about underage experimentations, and we're talking about how we deal with it. Please continue. You were saying it is not a criminal offense. We should have counselors in addition to you were saying.
And I would say there are a number of things for teenage women, and a number of NGOs. I know Miss Wyatt Marbury and them, they are catered a lot for young ladies as well. So I think these are the things they need to do. Let them know what the consequences of their actions. Because, I mean, a 15-year-old now and a 15-year-old 10 years ago is different. They're a lot wiser now, and they're exposed to a lot more now. So we have to deal with them differently. They treat them differently. I'm not saying deal with them exactly like an adult, but they understand adult things. So, I mean, we have to have these kind of conversations. I have an 8-year-old son, and I start to have certain conversations with him from this age.
Yes, it's not about the birds and the bees anymore. This is what it is, because they're seeing it outside.
My pet peeve, again, I'm going to be repeating it, Mr. Bishop, is that why you pay so much attention to girls. And it's obviously not working, or it has worked to the point where girls are overtaking the boys in ways that you didn't anticipate, or maybe some people, if they are attacking you, they anticipated that. But equal treatment, boys and girls, they've got to grow together, they got to live together. Girls got to marry boys, boys got to marry girls. You know, and at the end of the day, we're raising good citizens. So why the focus on all the girls? So this is for the NGOs and the people out there who are focusing on girls and women only. Come on, we need help. Men need help.
Yeah, and that's something I don't ever like to hear sometimes. Sometimes you hear a lot of programs for women and girls and for men and boys. And I'm not saying they possibly have their reasons why, but I think they need something to be collective.
Yeah.
So we know how to work together, how to live together, how to play together, how to understand each other. I mean, that's important. You're talking about you want these people to understand the male, to understand the females, because you intend, in other words, for procreation to continue, that they cohabitate well. And I mean, we don't really see that support again. I mean, everything is kind of like separated. Empower this one and empower that one. And then it's just going to be a tipping of the scales right through. And that's what I think we need to avoid. We're going to see, sometimes we say we're fighting for gender equality, but sometimes I think there's gender superiority on both sides. And a statement I made on the Facebook page, and as I said, I came under some fire of it. I said, I don't like to be classified as a male activist. I don't like to be labeled as a male activist or that kind of activist. I mean, I'm a man. That's it. I'm a man and I'm a father. At the end of the day, that's what I'm going to be classified as. All I see is woman, all I see is man. And I'm fine with that. And my profession, I'm the vice president of the Foreign Use Association, Motor Vehicle Association. My profession is in foreign use automobiles, and that's basically it. But I was a man that lost a son, and I felt like if it was similar, I would imagine like as if he had died.
Yes,
and I just couldn't stand for that. And to me, the reason why I say what I do, I think a doubles man could have done the same thing, a fisherman could have done the same thing, the parlour man could have done the same thing. It's nothing about academic or had to be a doctor or have a PhD or something. I just stood up for something that I believed, And I knew had to be the right thing to stand up for.
I admire your humility in this area. Rhondall feels it's a good opportunity for us to tell our listeners about your organization, how long formed, how can folks join, participate, and give me some of those numbers, particularly in the area of the sexuality in school we spoke about, and some places where parents can reach out to. So I just handed you three things. The first one I want to find out is about your organization. Then secondly, how folks can get involved in it.
All right. Well, we started in 2012, actually. I know people see the way the ball is rolling, they think it's a long while before that. It actually started, as I said, with the same experience that I had personally. I mean, I couldn't comprehend not being involved. I couldn't comprehend that a father that wanted to be interested in it, that wanted to be involved in his kid's life, would have the precedent of 4 days a month. I mean, I've heard for my entire life, society always say, stand up men, be good fathers, don't leave the home. And then the system is actually giving you 4 days a month with your child. That's like, but yet you pay half or 3/4 or all the bills on the next end. I mean, there are a lot of injustices, and I just couldn't stand up for that because, I mean, it's a single mother actually who taught me, boy, stand up for the right thing no matter what it is. And that's where we started on that. We went out on the television, and then a number of guys keep coming in, and people have just been coming in. I mean, I was telling one of the outreach officers today, we really have to be in a really bad state in Trinidad and Tobago for me every single day to receive 2 and 3 and 4 calls from a new father saying that he has a problem. It means something is critically wrong. It means marriages are being dissolved. It means people are not even getting married again. It means relationships are being destroyed. Anytime he calls and he says, I'm a single father. And I'm saying that we don't champion single fatherhood like you hear they're championing single motherhood as if it's better than the nuclear family. We appreciate the nuclear family and what it is. That's what the child wants. But what we are saying, if nothing else,
there's a reality here.
If nothing else, well then, in other words, you all still try to co-parent. In other words, if you can't have that intimate relationship, at least form a partnership. And one thing I'd realize when most people call me, because a lot of mothers call as well, 3/4 of the times the issues or the problems they're having is not that the father doesn't like the child or the mother doesn't like the child. It's always something personally between themselves. Something that they are upset. He didn't do this when you were together. He walked out, or she walked out, or she used to go and meet this one here. It's always a personal problems that extends and affects the relationship with one of the parents with the child.
So a lot of our listeners listening this morning, and they want to get involved with your organization. They want to join up with you, offer some expertise, or do whatever they can, or even come into meetings of the organization. Tell them how they can do that.
Right. Well, you could. The easiest place to get us is on Facebook, because the Facebook group is highly interactive. I encourage anyone that wants to really get involved. You get them there, look for Single Fathers Association Trinidad and Tobago. We'll join you on. The contact numbers I gave before for the outreach officers, 684-1704, 347-3013. You contact them, you go down to meet the outreach officers at their offices. And I mean, these guys use their personal offices as offices for Single Fathers Association, because we have no sponsor. This is something that we do on volunteer. I mean, the way we've kept it rolling is just dads doing stuff because they realize we need to help other dads through their stuff as well. I mean, it's been therapeutic even for us to go through our ordeal by helping others get involved as well.
The catharsis can do that to you sometimes. 3 or 4 calls you say you get a day.
Yeah.
Primarily, what are those calls about, Rhondall?
Parent alienation, dads not getting to see the children, or going to the police station and trying to get access to their kids. They're not going to, you have a court order, they're not going to go to execute.
So do you work with organizations, for instance, and I know you don't like the separation of the sexes, but do you work with organizations, for instance, who will tell the young mothers that this is not the way you go about, because this is the damage you're doing to your child? I mean, do you work with organizations on the other side?
Honestly, we've never met an organization that was willing to make a bolder statement as that. And that's a serious problem. We've never, and that's the things we try to highlight. We're saying, if you're saying that support us, that you support us, then this is something that is critical for you to do. What we would get is a number of grandmothers in the association. And what they do, a number of them have always told us that, you know what I see going on to my son? It reminds me of what I did to his father. And now I understand what I did to his father because I see my son do it. So I try to explain to mothers, why fight men when you're growing a boy? Your boy will grow into a man, definitely. Exactly. And the things that we fight for is to try to make things better for him. Because next 20 years, you don't know if he's going to be in this position. I thought my mother knew I would be in this position as well. So I think it's something that mothers, particularly of sons, need to be very, very wary about. They need to know that it's a fair playing field. Because even my mother, in other words, is alienated from her grandchild. she doesn't have the chance to have that with my entire extended family. And this is exactly what the issue is. So even if you're a mother now of a son, you don't want that to happen when he gets older. Of course, you don't want him to end up in a failed relationship, but you must know that the balance is there. I think mothers should be upset, even also what we highlighted first with this whole issue about the boy being penalized and the deal is just going to walk scotch-free. I mean, we're not protecting boys, and sometimes as parents, we're not even protecting our own sons because we're protecting ourselves more than we're protecting them.
And if there's a women's group, a girls' group, or any kind of group that is willing to break the barriers and work with the Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago on their cause, the mic will be open to you. Call us at 628-6044. You're going to be on the program, and let's start and get this discussion going. Clearly, the Single Fathers Association, they need help.
Come to a wonderful wrap-up with our current guest, Rhondall Fields, president of the Single Fathers Association, Trinidad and Tobago. Rhondall, in the minute we have, what would your advice be for parents, fathers particularly, to understand that they need to keep as much as possible the tension and the egos out of the relationship with their ex or their estranged because of what it does to the children? You made the point, it does affect them. We understand that, and I'm glad you made the point. What kind of advice can you give them?
Yeah, well, the advice I'll give, to both parents. Let's really try to co-parent. Let's try to partner. Let's try to work in the benefit of the children. That's all we could do. Parenting is such an important aspect of life. The way we raise these kids, they're going to go out in society. They're going to be, a child will ever be born a criminal, I always say. So however we raise them, this is what they're going to become. So let's really take that seriously. Parenting is a serious part of life.
Truly appreciate it.